Well, SEI has been doing a lot of work related to air pollutants both in Europe and the rest of the world. We started off working on regional air pollution in Europe, working very closely with the conventional long-range transboundary air pollution. The issues that we were looking at were acid rain, which was a very important issue in the 1980s. And this had moved on from the sort of urban focus, which was more in the 60s and 70s. And then there was this realization, a lot of which built on work from Scandinavia, that the air pollution was not just a local phenomenon, but it was actually traveling between nations across the North Sea and was creating ecological damage far from the point of emission. So we were working on particularly emissions of sulfur and nitrogen initially, and we developed a map of sensitivity. That was particularly the work I was involved with Mike Chadwick, which looked at the potential impact of acid rain throughout Europe. The major impact of acid rain, which became apparent in the 1960s, was related to the lake damage, the acidification of lakes in Scandinavia, but also in Scotland and Wales and other sensitive areas where the lakes acidified, the fish died, and there was a total change in the ecosystem. We worked on an integrated approach where we wanted to look at the impacts of acid rain and work back into the sorts of control policy that would be required in order to reduce those impacts. And we ended up developing a method to map ecosystems in Europe in terms of how sensitive they would be to the acid rain, both in terms of the impacts on lakes and fish and other fresh waters, but also in terms of the other impact which was politically important, the impact on forests and forest growth. So we developed a map of sensitivity across Europe, which was then used within the workings of the Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution as their initial critical loads map. And a critical load is a threshold above which you start to see damage. The map was used as part of the optimization to determine what sort of emission reductions of sulfur and nitrogen would be required by different European countries. So it was a very targeted approach. The policymakers took the evidence on the sensitivity of ecosystems to the impacts of acid rain and related that to the emissions from the different countries. But eventually the protocols which were developed under the Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution did achieve an agreement between countries to reduce levels of pollution targeted to saving those ecosystems from issues such as acid rain and minimising the ecological damage that was caused.